Hi, this is John Schmitz, and welcome to Do Something Indy. And I know you all been waiting to see who the special co-host would be. I think some of you knew that what was going to happen. My wife Lisa has joined me, and her friend and my friend Jennifer Magley is on with us. Would you like to say hello to our beautiful Do Something Indy audience?
Yes, hello, Do Something Indy. Thank you for having me this evening. Yes, this beats the snot out of last Wednesday.
Yeah, the last Wednesday was that's a good show, but this is gonna be
Oh, I mean in my life.
oh, you had a bad Wednesday. Okay, I was gonna say, wow. Starting off here good. That's all right. So just to remind everybody, if you have a question for Jennifer as we go along here, to go ahead and put it in the live chat, and I will make sure that we can get that up there. And then we have my beautiful wife, Lisa. Would you like to say hi to all the peoples out there in Facebook land?
Hi to all the peoples. I'm just so excited about this show because Jennifer is a good friend and she's a rock star. And I don't know. I'm just kind of like giddy, like a groupie, I guess. I don't know. So we'll see how this goes.
You sounded a little starstruck there. What's up with that? It's like,
you know
okay.
what? So Jennifer and I met through a mutual women's networking organization. She spoke, and then I spoke 1 year to the week after she did.
Yeah, that's right.
And she's just a great human being. And so I'm honored that she is on our show. I am honored that she's a friend, and she's inspiring on so many levels. So anybody that's watching, and even if you don't watch it live and you watch it back, I know it's going to be meaningful regardless. So.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind.
Yeah, she is too kind. You're wasting all the time. I know you, Lisa. I want to know Jennifer. I want to know what she's up to. So it's like we can have a show anytime. So Jennifer, let's get into this and see if we can't find out a little bit about you. I don't want you to start from the beginning, like the first thing you remember, but give us a little detail of what it's like to go up through the athletic system and eventually be a professional.
Yeah, it's a lot of training, just a ton of training. I'm from a place where in Kansas, there wasn't a lot of competitive tennis, and that's what took me to Florida, which was the largest sports academy in the world, and used to train there 8 hours a day. Didn't quite hit my goal of being number one in the world, but ended up doing quite well in college and was ranked number one for a few weeks, which is funny because I made headlines for making history of being number one and losing. And my mom was so proud of me. My dad, not so much. My mom was like, at least you're in the LA Times. So she was really been sweet over the years. And then I was a Division I head coach and decided to become a stay-at-home mama. Then had my own business, did a lot of speaking, coaching, and consulting. And now I'm here as an employee with the little business venture, which is my book. I didn't even realize that having a book now was having a business. Things have changed since I wrote my first book. That's for sure.
So how many books have you written?
This is my second one, but it's my first under my actual current name, which is Jennifer Magley. This is basically when you look at the self-growth space, a lot of people look the same. And in the books that they're writing, they all look like my dad, as I say, my dad. And I was like, you know what? I need to find this leadership fable. If you think of like Who Moved My Cheese, or The Greatest Salesman in the World, or even The Alchemist, they're all wonderful, but they're all written by men. And I was like, we need something for women that women can really hold on to, and we don't have to filter out things that might not make sense for us. So that's why I wrote this book.
Okay, and speaking of your dad, he played basketball or something like that. He's a sort of.
Yeah, he was Mr. Basketball in Indiana in 1978, and he's just like a huge, tall white guy with a crooked nose and self-deprecating humor. He just comes into the room, pizzazz, I'm here, and he's really happy that we all live in Indiana, as it was a great excuse for him to move back. So he's definitely Lisa, you've met him. You've seen
I
him.
have, and I want to say something though. So the self-deprecating humor. If you guys do not follow Jennifer Magley on Instagram, you follow her. if not anything else, but her own self-deprecating humor.
That's true.
And the humor that she shares with her parents. So, so Jennifer, I was actually talking about you yesterday, and I pulled up your Instagram.
Right.
The one video that I showed that is one of my favorites wasn't the one of you and your dad, but that was the one I was trying to find. Was the one of you and your dad dancing?
Right.
But it was the one of you and your mom doing carpool karaoke in the car.
Oh yeah, in the parking lot on Mother's Day.
Amazing. So
yeah, they're really funny. I mean, one of my more recent Instagram posts was just like highlighting my belly. So that just shows you. And
I saw that.
To keep it real, because I was mortified to see my gut just plunging to the ground in a promo video. And I literally, I'm so vain. I wanted him to recut it. You know, it's a promo video for the book. It's beautiful. But I didn't wear my Spanx, John. Do you know what Spanx are? They're basically sausage casing for the stomach for women. And I didn't have mine on, so it was more of a donut effect than a sausage effect. So
yeah, this has been a tough week for me making comments about women and what they wear. Yeah. So I'm just going to stay back on this one. All right.
Okay. So John, let me take that for you.
So I got a question for you. What's it like growing up with the professional, dad for a professional athlete? Was that like, did you get to travel around or what?
Yeah.
Was it just like, see you when you get home, Dad? Pretty
much. He's always been busy. He's always been on the go. And my dad, I'd love to say he's a humble guy, but not so much. When guys would come over growing up, I think he would sit down and give them a heart-to-heart talk, right? That's what we all think a father's going to do, is take care of my daughter. But instead he's like, hey, sit down on this couch. Watch this game film of when I dropped 20 on Mike Jordan his freshman year. And I'm like, Dad, no, we're not watching your game before we go to the movies. So he definitely is a character, and growing up with someone like him is wonderful because he has a beautiful, intentional heart, a lot of humor, but he's also, he just owns it. He owns all parts of himself.
So he wasn't like cleaning his guns while he's talking to him and watching the film.
No. That would mean he would do domestic work, which he does not do any cleaning of any kind besides himself.
I like the guy already. I like him.
Yeah.
So you get into the book writing business. So how do you, you just decide? I mean, I think most people I know, I'm going to write a book someday, but you actually did it. So tell us about your first one, and then we'll get to the second one. And, is it the same, similar, just some of that background?
Yeah, so the first book I wrote was about the dark shadows behind the bright lights of college athletics from a women's perspective. So it was at the time when all of these big time college athletes were getting in trouble for, getting houses and cars, et cetera. And those were the kinds of scandals you would hear about. But the scandals you wouldn't hear about with women's athletics were really the injustices that were happening and the way that women were being preyed upon by this system of coaches and administrators. And so those scandals were much, much, much messier, I believe, than the men's scandals. And some of them have actually broken since that book came out, and we're familiar with some of the things that have happened in women's sports. So yeah, it kind of predated the known drama. I was also heavily pregnant when it came out. I was with child, so it wasn't promoted as much, but Amazon Prime wasn't even really a thing back then. And so now it's a completely different world, and being in this self-growth, nonfiction space, even though my book is fiction, is a totally different genre. So it's been interesting.
So speaking of that, Lisa, you ask a question. Do you have a question, or you want me to keep going? Because I got a million questions.
Well, I tried to interject before we got on this book topic, and I got interrupted. So, and I don't even remember now what I was going to say.
Here's a question you could ask. So what made you have make this book into like a fairy tale thing, or like a story?
Totally. A fable. I was like, let's just write a fable. A lot of times, a lot of religious figures spoke in stories because people really remember stories. So I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. And it turned out to be a lot harder than I was expecting. So I ended up anchoring it in the tortoise and the hare so that people would be familiar with what is a fable really. And that's how I got started. I started writing the book after I got laid off. Did you hear about that, John? How I got laid off?
No, last time we had breakfast with some guy you were dating, and we were
Yes,
supposed to
my
check him out.
fiance.
Yeah. Well, I tried to run him off with bad dad jokes, but it didn't happen.
I remember.
Yeah, I got a bunch more since then. Maybe I'll tell it to you.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to break it down for you here. I did the reverse leap from owning a business to being an employee. It was a dream job, and they flew me to New York City, and I presented to a billionaire on the 40th floor overlooking Central Park, right, in Manhattan. And I'm living the life, right? I'm just like so amazing. And then, yes, very much. And 84 days later, I got laid off due to the pandemic. So I had no job, completely humbled. And from there, I posted on LinkedIn, and my post went viral with 10 million people that saw it. US News and World Report did a story on it. And for 15 minutes, I was the most famous unemployed woman in the Midwest, which you never want to be. It was never on my poster. I got a new job through that. And that's actually when I started writing the book, was after I got laid off.
That's great. Hey, like I said, we have questions from the audience. So here's one from Adam. So should people be allowed to participate in athletics based on gender identity, or is this fundamentally unfair?
That's a great question. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's something that I'm not able to answer, but the folks are still trying to figure it out on a global scale. So back in the 70s, there was a player that actually played on the women's tour that had a different gender identity than they were initially born with. And so it's something that's been an ongoing conversation. I will say that skill is skill, especially in the sport of tennis. So your skill is matching up with somebody else's, and it's always an interesting thing. And there's always this debate that's going on with Serena Williams. She's the greatest of all time, some people say. Some other people say, how would she perform on the men's tour? So regardless of where your gender is, I think there's always this conversation of who is superior based on, how you identify yourself. So it's a long non-answer because I don't know. I just want to beat everyone when I get on the court. I don't care if you think whatever you believe you are, whatever you are, I just want to win. So that's kind of my, that's the way I view it.
Now, do you remember Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs in the 70s?
Yeah,
I mean, you weren't born then, but.
No, I do. I totally remember. I mean, Billie Jean King, she started the WTA tour for us.
That's well, here's one from my friend Tim Couch, who gives me a very hard time about my bad dad jokes. This is what he says. Please don't. Okay, so they like to make fun of me on this show. I think that's all right. That's all right.
I love it.
Let's see what we got here. Very interesting question back even in the 70s. So yeah, so this has been something that's been going quite for a while. So let's break this off into women in the workplace thing and how that glass ceiling and all that stuff. And it is International Women's Day on Monday, but I think you guys all deserve a whole week.
We should go on strike like that One Nation did. It actually.
That's right.
No, yeah, it was an awesome, totally focused effort. It was amazing. But basically, gaslighting is the way that it's deformed is it's defined, and it's a form of manipulation where you're made to think that you're crazy. And it happens quite a bit. And Lisa, you could speak to this because you're in the HR space, that it's not necessarily something that I think individuals do intentionally. I think it's just more of a product of the system itself and the way that it's built, oftentimes, and the way that it affects people. Lisa, what's been your experience with seeing that over the years?
Well, yeah. So as an HR executive, there were many times that the male counterparts on my executive team would counteract, an initiative or a process that I had proposed in a way that they would say, oh, this may not work because, and it would make me feel like I was second guessing my original thought process or the way I presented it or whatever, so that I kind of thought I was crazy. But looking back now, we didn't talk about gaslighting 20 years ago.
Right.
But now thinking back to some of those corporate experiences, that's what I was experiencing. They were trying to make me think I was crazy so that I would go along with their plan, because their plan fit the narrative better than mine did, or, you know, at least from a male's perspective. So, yeah, I mean, I lived it for a lot of years, and I don't think I even realized it until I was out of it. So.
Yeah, and to that point, it's the kind of feedback that someone gives you where they say, hey, you need to speak up. And then when you do, they go, oh, that's just too loud. It's the constant moving of the finish line. You never actually do anything right.
Yeah.
And it's often talked about in personal relationships, but it's not brought up in a professional setting, that you are being made to think that you're crazy. I mean, another part of it is they really wear you down over time. There's continual lies that happen. You know, you can say, oh, I remember when you told me I was going to get that promotion. And they would say, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. So then you think, am I losing my mind?
Yeah. So Jennifer, did I ever tell you about the fact that I had acoustical tiles put on the walls in my office?
Oh, no.
Okay. So we know each other, right? We like to laugh. I have a positive attitude on life, right? So my office was 2 doors down from the president. And when I moved into that office, just a week or two later, he comes down and he says, you know, you need to like tone it down just a little bit. And so I try, and then someone comes in, they're sharing a great story, we're laughing. He comes down and he says, cut it off, like shut it down. And I'm like, okay, I'm not yelling at anyone. Like, we're having a happy moment here, and it's work related, right? So then a couple of months go by, and another instance like that happens, and he comes down and he says, you know, they make these things for your walls that absorb sound. I have a catalog with some that I've used to put in my basement theater room in my home, and I'm going to approve for you to order some, because my laughter was way too loud. Now, granted, I wasn't yelling at people. I was more of a positive light on the crap that was going on at work. So, yeah, and then people started coming by my office after that, looking in like, did he really? Oh, he did really make you put those up. So
yeah. Here's a question for you from Adam, and talking about a colleague wanting to be a lawyer when she grew up, and they said, wouldn't you rather be a princess instead? So
dear.
With your dad, Jennifer, being a professional athlete, you probably had no troubles with that, did you? He said, hey, you're gonna be a tennis player, you're gonna be good at it. Or is that not what happened?
No, yeah, he's totally supportive, and even totally supportive with this book. And going back to, you know, Lisa, what you were talking about with what happened with your experience, the crazy thing about that is that, to me, it comes down to fitting into culture and belonging. And what I believe is right now in the workplace is everybody wants you to fit into their work culture. Well, fitting means that I need to give up my culture to be a part of your culture. Whereas if I belong, I feel that this is the place where I'm meant to be. I'm among peers. I'm in a healthy environment. And that's the trade-off sometimes, is that for me to be a part of your culture, I need to give up mine. I need to give up my joy and my laughter. I need to not speak so loudly, you know, and not be heard, and my voice not be heard.
Jennifer, to that point, I had people telling me that I needed to buy a different car. I needed to drive a fancy car, and, you know, and all these things to be able to fit in. And before John even came along, they said, you know what, you need to move to Carmel, because you're not going to find a good job unless you live in Carmel. Well, you know what? That is not what happened. So
that is
incredible. I want you to fit into a mold that they feel is appropriate. And from a job perspective, you know, you can still get all kinds of crap done and you can excel at your job without having to conform to who they think you need to be.
Yeah, I think that's so well said. I mean, and you, how many years were you in HR, Lisa?
25 in Indianapolis. And I still do a little bit of consulting on the side, just a little.
She was the first HR for the Indianapolis 500. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool. The first one, you know.
Love
so
it.
Yeah.
My friend Tim has a question for you here. Who did your dad play for?
He played for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then in the CBA for the Albany Patroons, and then overseas. I think Phil Jackson was his coach, which was a big deal. It was before Phil became the Zen master, or maybe he was becoming the Zen master. I don't remember, but I read Phil's book last year, so you're welcome.
Your dad probably has film of teaching him how to be the Zen master, right?
The Zen master.
So, as far as this book writing, is this going to be something that you're going to have come up with another book here, or is you got anything working? I guess.
Yeah, it's going really well. Oh, you have it! How cute! There's two. Where did you get that?
It's just a piece of paper because
horrible.
My book has not come in yet. And I got an Amazon package yesterday, and it was the shape of a book.
Oh,
and I opened it, and I was like so excited. I'm like, oh, my book. And it was hooks for a film.
That is adorable. I cannot believe you printed that. No, I tell you, thank you, Lisa. You made my day. That's so awesome. I want to tell you something about publishing in the book business. Did you know that it is very much like the music business?
How's that?
You, regardless of whether you sign a larger book deal or you go independent, you are still financially responsible for the promotion of the book, for the success and the marketing of the book.
Oh, good to know.
Yes.
Yeah, because I have a book that's still waiting to be written.
You've come to the right place. You've come to the right place. This is the best marketing you're going to get.
Promotion City. We are. I love it. We're doing something in Indy.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. I like how you did that. And you can find How to Be a Queen on Amazon. And if it doesn't blow up tonight and Amazon shuts down because we have so many people ordering this book, I'm disappointed. So,
I feel like those rappers when they get on the show, when the award show before the pandemic, and they'd be like, my album, it drops on this day. I just keep doing the same thing. I'm like, the book is out. The book is out over and over again. Because I don't have a team of 20 people behind me. That's if I was a celebrity, if I was known, I'd literally have 20 people. Instead, it's me just yelling 20 times as loud.
So Jennifer, I want to give another pitch to her Instagram. You guys, seriously, you've got to follow her. So your Instagram of when you're like, my book is out. My book is out. Oh my gosh, it was awesome.
I got a question. Which was harder, having a baby or birthing this book?
Well, that's a great and relevant question because today turns 9. He turns 9 today. So I actually started having back pain, my body remembers that this happened 9 years ago yesterday. I would say they both make your ego so humble. They both take it out of you, if you know what I mean. So having kids is harder, but I worked with a world-renowned story coach on this book, and she was so helpful. But every time you get that draft back, it's just like, your ego, you think you've got it, and then you see where you went wrong. So they're both pretty hard. The Fable was hard. Oh,
yeah. So what was the most enlightening issue that you had? Did you just, when it got back, or what they taught you from this? What was that? Is there one thing in your mind that you can say, oh, I didn't know that, and I learned that?
Make it simple.
Oh, I love that.
Really spell it out. You have to make it simple. I mean, look at how thin this book is. It's probably shorter, as I've jokingly said, as some menus. Like it's short, but you really have to say something that you think is obvious to someone else. It's not obvious to someone else.
So did it start out a lot thicker and your helper thin it down, or was that? It
did. It was a totally different story. And I don't know if you've seen much about fashion and the catwalk, but it's kind of like when they create certain pieces, they're a little more avant-garde on the runway. They're like, who would wear a sink on their head, right? No one's going to do that. Well, typically. And then they rework it, they refine it for the buyers and for the stores, and then they release different products. And that's kind of how my journey was it was all over here, a lot of great ideas, but she helped me bring it all in. And her name is Lisa Cron. Believe it or not, I have her new book, which is out, Story or Die. It's on Amazon, and she consults for movies, and it was a professor on the university. So scripts will be brought to her from writing teams, and she helps correct the story. So she's legitimate. Her TED Talk is awesome.
Cool. So how long did it from, pretty much start to where we are today? How long was that? How long did that take?
Yes, I would say it took from about March until January. I don't know how many months that is, but yeah.
That is like, we're going to say 7 just for easy.
We could go with 9. We just make it a baby itself.
Baby.
I mean, the chances of me writing another book versus having another baby are much higher with the book.
With the book. Well, I'm glad I got to make it seem the same now, so you can have that.
It is. Anyone who's thinking about it, the French say that having a child without an epidural is like slowly having your pinky finger ripped off from your body. So writing a book is much better than that.
Oh yeah, that's good. So you turn it in January, and it takes them a couple months to get that process to where it's actually hitting shelves and all that, or whatever happens these times. So this was like sort of your ode to COVID type of
it was like, and it's so bad too, because there's this thing called conversational narcissism that I read about, and everyone's guilty of it. And that's the one thing I've been trying not to do, is when people say, well, what'd you do over COVID? I don't want to be like, well, I read 126 books and wrote a book. I mean, that's not going to help anybody. So I just say, I just hanging in there, no complaints. And I just keep it moving.
Well, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I know a famous author, and I did put Lisa's on there. I don't know if you noticed the ticker on the bottom. She's a famous floral designer and owner of Where Pigs Fly and such. So
huge.
Two famous people on here and making me look good tonight.
Okay, so can I share something really quickly? So Jennifer, I was talking about you yesterday, and a friend of mine who just left corporate America to decide whether or not she wanted to write a book or start a business or what have you. And she said, I thought about doing XYZ. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give you the Jennifer Magley talk. I'm going to tell you that is going to be nothing but a waste of your time, and that you need to focus on what is going to take you to that next level of writing a book or starting your business. And do you remember the substitute teaching conversation you and I had when I was wanting to do that?
I did, a little bit. I remember it.
All right. So,
I'm mortified. I don't remember.
I remember where I was and what I was doing when we had the conversation. And you said, your value is more than this.
Right.
You need to focus on inspiring other people, writing your book, starting your business, and doing that. And so that's what I told this other friend of mine. And he was so inspired by that. And it's true. It's, we focus on the things that maybe can get us by for the brief minute, instead of focusing on the things that could maybe have a bigger impact, not only on our own lives, but on other people's lives. And I think that's what you have chosen to do. And that's what makes you so inspiring to me. So,
thank you, Lisa. That's so kind. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this has been fun. I mean, it's been fun. I learned a little bit about book writing and how do you do that.
Yeah.
And all that good stuff. And so, Lisa's out here. You got a big fan.
I love it. That's literally the size of my book too.
I want my book. Oh, and you need to record an audible version of it. I don't know what that takes, but I'm telling you, Jennifer, you are so articulate and so
you're so kind.
I love your voice. And so if you ever do an audible version, don't let anybody else do it. Please do it yourself. Oh my gosh, it would just be so fun.
Oh.
So I don't want to give away the ending or anything, but I think in the end, the queen becomes the president. Oh, I don't know. I made that up. If that's the ending, I don't know. So now I got to read it. As soon as I'm going to borrow Lisa's, though. Sorry.
I love it. Yeah. Check it out on Amazon. It's on Amazon. It's just a small little book. It's written to be read over your lunch break. You can read it back quickly because some people, let's just be real. How many people have time to sit down and read an entire book these days? It's just not happening the way it used to.
No, not me.
Yeah, me neither.
That's why I'm on Audible.
Yeah, there's that thing, Johnny can't read. Hello. So it's like, yeah, you got to read it to me. That'd be good. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and we're wishing you all the luck. And come back anytime. If you want to be a co-host or whatever, you're part of the family now of the Do Something Indy. And we're at 1,599 people following our page. I need one more people to get on our page and like it, and we'll have 1,600. So it'd be like a milestone.
So Johnny, before we go, where can we find you, Jennifer, besides Instagram at Jennifer Magley?
Yeah, I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can also find me at howtobequeen.com.
Got your own .com and everything.
That's right. It's either Jennifer Magley or How to Be Queen, and they'll take you to the same spot.
Just as long as you end up queen, right?
There you go. Yep.
A lot of pathways to get to be queen, but
that's right.
Well, we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Good luck. And everybody out there in the Do Something Indy audience, thanks for tuning in. Go out and buy that book. Come on now. And we'll see you next week at 8 p.m. right here live on the Do Something Indy channel. See you later. Bye.